all about minor keys and scales. My name is Tiffany Q, and today I will be talking you through what minor scales are, the three types of minor scales, how they are formed, and how to answer some basic theory questions about minor scales. I would highly recommend that you check out my other video on major scales, which I will link down in the description box below, as it has some foundational information on what scales and keys are. There will also be timestamps below in case you were looking for something in particular. Introduction to minor scales. Each major key has a relative minor key. This means that each key signature can stand for one of two possible keys, either the major key or the minor key. We find the relative minor key of a major key by the sixth note of the major scale, or start on the tonic note and go down a minor third. I'm going to show you now. This here is the scale of C major, and the sixth note, which is the A here, would be the relative minor of C major. So if we are in C major, the relative minor of it would be the sixth note, which is A, therefore A minor. Now in red here, I have solfege equals law. Some people find solfege or solfa much easier to understand. In this case, the law of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la would be the minor relative. Here's another example. The relative minor of E major can also be found by the sixth note of E major scale. In this case, it is the C sharp, and therefore C sharp minor. Alternatively, we could start on the note E here and go down a minor third or three semitones. 1, 2, 3. That also brings us to C sharp. Conversely, if we knew C sharp minor and wanted to find its relative major, we could start on the C sharp first, here, and go up a minor third or three semitones. 1, 2, 3 to get to E. This works for every single major and minor key. So, having looked at both key examples, we can now deduce that the key signature for C major is also the same key signature for its relative minor, A minor. And the key signature for E major is also the same key signature for its relative minor, C sharp minor. More on how to tell if a piece of music is major or minor later. I'll be going through some snippets of scores to show you how to tell what key a piece is in by just looking at the music. The natural minor. There are three types of minor scales: the natural minor, the harmonic minor, and the melodic minor. The notes of natural minor scales contain the exact same notes as their relative major scales, but starting and ending on the note of the minor scale. So if we are in C major here, the sixth note is A, so the relative minor would be A minor. We start on A and we end, of course, on A, and the scale contains all of the same notes as C major. So I'm going to play C major and then A minor for you to compare. C major. A natural minor. Here are some more examples of major scales and their relative natural minor scales. So the first one, we have F major. F major contains one flat, and that's B flat. And here is the D natural minor scale. So starting and ending on D, containing all of the same notes in between. And here, our next example is the A major scale. A major has 3 sharps, and we can see those sharps at play in the F sharp minor scale. So if you looked at this to begin with, you might think, hey, aren't there 4 sharps here because of the signs? But you have to remember that F sharp is doubled, so that last one actually doesn't count because they are technically the same note. So it is 3, just like the A major scale. Some students make that mistake, so just be aware of that. The harmonic minor. In a harmonic minor scale, we take the natural minor and raise the 7th note of the scale by 1 semitone, both when the scale is ascending and descending. Now, this point is quite important because it differentiates the melodic minor from the harmonic minor, which we'll look at in a second. So, E minor. This is the relative minor of G major. G major has 1 sharp, F sharp. So I'm going to play you the E natural minor and then show you the difference between the natural minor and the harmonic minor. So really listen out for that raised 7th there. This is the natural minor first. And this is the harmonic minor. Below here, we can see the E harmonic minor scale ascending and descending with a key signature. So instead of putting the F sharp here in front of the note as an accidental, I've popped it up here as a key signature. So you can see that this raised 7th. Now let me explain a little bit about the raised 7th. When we are raising the 7th here, we need to add an accidental in front of the note in order to increase that note by 1 semitone. And it's really important that we don't shift that note up or down the lines or spaces. It needs to stay in that same position, and the only thing we change is the accidental in front. Here is another example of a harmonic minor. So B flat minor is the relative minor of a D flat major, which has 5 flats. This is B flat natural minor, so it contains all the same notes as its relative major, D flat major, and I've taken that 7th note and I've raised it by a semitone here. Notice how the only thing I changed was the accidental in front. Now in this case, I technically could not have written in that natural sign, just did this to make it very clear, because obviously if we don't have an accidental in front of a note, we presume that it is a natural. Here is the B flat harmonic minor scale ascending and descending with the key signature, so it really helps you to see the raised 7th very clearly. And finally, the melodic minor, our 3rd and last minor. In a melodic minor scale, we take the natural minor and raise both the 6th and 7th notes of the scale by 1 semitone only when the scale is ascending or going up. We then lower the 6th and 7th notes when the scale is descending, when the scale is going down, back to the natural minor, basically. So I'm going to show you. Here is A natural minor, and I'm going to play it ascending and descending. In the melodic minor, we go to the 6th and 7th notes, which are here, and we will raise them both by one semitone. Now remember, we only change the accidental in front of it. So the F natural becomes an F sharp and the G natural becomes a G sharp. So this is only when it's ascending, going up. The scale is going upwards here, it's going higher. Now when it has to go back down again, this is when we revert the raised notes back to their original. So if we just take a look at the second half of the scale, we notice that they are basically the notes of the natural minor. So you can remember it in two ways. You can remember a melodic minor scale is when you raise 6 and 7 going up and you lower them back down on the way down or descending. Or you could remember that you raise 6 and 7 on the way up and then on the way down it's the natural minor. Whatever is easiest for you. And here is an example of G sharp minor in all its forms. So this is G sharp natural minor, harmonic minor, and melodic minor. Now, remember, harmonic minor is when we raise the 7th note by a semitone, going up and going down. Notice how the original note was F sharp because of the key signature. There's an F sharp. So if we want to raise it, we need to put a double sharp in front of it. For this one here, the melodic minor, we raise 6 and 7, so this note used to be an E, we raise it, becomes E sharp. This used to be F sharp, and then we raise it, becomes F double sharp. Now we have to revert it back to what it was before, so the F double sharp becomes F sharp, and the E sharp becomes an E natural. So I'm going to play each of these scales for you to really hear the differences. So this is G sharp natural minor. This is G sharp harmonic minor. And this is G sharp melodic minor. It's quite a beautiful scale. Key signatures. I briefly spoke about this earlier at the very beginning. In the major keys and scales video, I showed you that how one key progressed from one to the next was called the circle of fifths. Notice how the minor keys work in the same way, from A minor, which is the relative minor of C major, to E minor, which is the relative of G major, the next progressive scale. We go up by the interval of a perfect fifth. So if we take a look at the diagram here, from A to E, we go up by a perfect fifth. And from E to B, it's a perfect fifth, and it goes all the way round the circle of fifths here, just like the major scales do too. This is a very useful diagram to understand how it works, to understand how the keys and scales progress from one to the next, with each one having an extra sharp. If we go the other way, from C major to F major, or A minor to D minor, we are adding on flats all the time. Please take a look at the previous video because I've explained this in a lot more detail there. There are 15 different minor keys, just like there are 15 different major keys. So I have a similar list in my previous video that is all about the major keys. So here is the minor in all its glory. I use a mnemonic for remembering the accidentals of keys. So for sharp keys, Father Charles goes down and ends battle. We can see here a for E minor, 1 sharp, it's F sharp, Father, and then B minor, F and C, Father Charles, F sharp minor, Father Charles goes, etc. This is very useful for knowing exactly where the sharps come in, or what the order of sharps is in a key signature. For the flats keys, we have battle ends and down goes Charles's father, which is the opposite. So it's red backwards, and we get the flats here. So this is quite handy because then you can just memorize the minor keys and correspond that to the number of sharps or flats in that key or in that key signature. And then by learning this mnemonic, it can help you basically generate the key signature immediately. Writing out a minor scale. So I would highly recommend students to memorize the number of sharps or flats in each key, both major and minor, going as far as the number corresponding to their level. For example, A major has 3 sharps, G minor has 2 flats, etc. An alternative would be to learn how to get from a major key to its relative minor key and vice versa. So I explained that at the very beginning of the video, counting the intervals or the semitones in between the major to minor and minor to major. Don't forget that you can use the mnemonic Father Charles goes down and ends battle, forwards for sharps, backwards for flats, to work out what the accidentals are and in what order they appear in the key signature. Sample question. Write out the scale of C harmonic minor ascending with accidentals. Hopefully you should have memorized that C minor has 3 flats, B flat, E flat and A flat, battle ends and. If not, you can find the relative major of C minor. We can go up a minor third or 3 semitones up from the note C. So we start on C, go 1, 2, 3, E flat. We get the note E flat, so therefore C minor is the relative minor of E flat major. Please see all about musical intervals video to see why it is E flat and not D sharp. Technically, yes, they are the same pitch, but we spell them differently, and that makes a world of difference when it comes to music theory. Okay, then we will write out the scale of C natural minor, which is basically E flat major but beginning on C and ending on C instead. And then we will raise the 7th note of the scale to make it a harmonic minor. So B flat, we just change the accidental in front of it. If you want to raise a flat by a semitone, we just make it a natural. And there we have it. Sample question. Write out the scale of G melodic minor, both ascending and descending with a key signature. So G minor has 2 flats, B flat and E flat in its key signature, just like its relative major B flat major. We can also go up minor third or 3 semitones from G. This is G, we go up 1, 2, 3, and we get B flat. So B flat would be the major. Please see all about musical intervals video to see why it is B flat and not A sharp. Again, similar to the previous question. Write out the key signature of G minor / B flat major, and then write out the notes of the scale ascending and descending. Raise the 6th and 7th notes ascending and lower them both when descending. So if we look here, the natural minor, ascending and descending, would be basically what we see here, except without the accidentals. Okay, now let's imagine putting the accidentals in. That E would have been an E flat, but we raise it, become E natural. That F would have been an F natural, so we raise it, becomes an F sharp. And then on the way down, we can revert them back to what they used to be, or you can think of this as the natural minor descending. How to tell if a piece is in major or minor. So there are many ways to tell if a piece is in major or minor by looking at the score. You can study the chords, you can do a harmonic analysis, etc. But for the purposes of this video, I will simplify it to just whether a piece is dominated by major scale notes or minor scale notes. So the next two extracts both have a key signature of no sharps and flats, therefore the possibility of C major or A minor. Now, the biggest indicator is usually the raised seventh. If the raised seventh regularly shows up, then rule of thumb, it is most likely in the minor key. So we can see the scale of C major here and the scale of A harmonic minor. Now that raised seventh really makes a difference when determining whether it's major or minor. This here is Mozart's Piano Sonata in C major, K545, the first movement. Now, as you can see, the key signature is here, but all the notes are white in the first two lines. I'm going to simplify it very much. I'm not going to talk about any of the chords, even though I'm very tempted to. So all I'm going to say is that we don't see any G sharps. The G's are all natural. Here's one, here's another one, in the left hand as well. You can see a good few of them. Now, compare that to this piece. In this one, we see plenty of G sharps, or plenty of the raised sevenths, or the notes of the A minor scale, if you like. You see one here, we see one here, they're all marked in red. And yeah, so if you see that, if you see the raised seventh come up quite early in the piece and quite regularly, then it's probably in the minor key. Thank you for watching this video, and be sure to check out the other music related videos on my channel, as well as more theory in the near future.